Well, I guess that's me. Okay, folks, welcome to the Dow Portland community and another talk in this wonderful series that all month has been focusing on stress, what it is, and how we who have taken to know various Dow techniques and have been blessed with technologies that are new to most of the world but are really quite ancient, how to deal with stress and what is it. And so I've decided that for tonight, I'm going to let you know a little about where I'm coming from, who I am, a little about my past, because then when we get into the practice and the experiences, I think it'll make it, hopefully, a little bit more interesting, something to relate to person, just you and me. So from Sedona, Arizona, here in the great American Southwest to wherever you are, a very warm good morning, good afternoon, evening, or night to each of you. Uh, as it says on the screen, I'm Russ Fox. Glad to be here. For the past 50 plus years, I've enjoyed a type of a double career. First, as a symphony and large chorus conductor, and then simultaneously as a massage therapist, a shiatsu, reflexology, and Reiki practitioner, a polarity therapy student. And it was all very interesting. And at times it all worked fairly effectively to help my clients, at least to help them relax and regain a certain degree of health, balance, and focus that they were missing. But the nagging question was always there. Why do these modalities sometimes work great, super effective, and at other times they do give temporary relief? Not quite what I was looking for. Obviously, something was missing in the that hadn't been included in my particular training for any of those modalities. Then, nearly 40 years ago, I met the first of two men that have enriched and thoroughly changed the course of my life. This first man was Richard Pavick, an American scientist and researcher who, in 1977, he decided to scientifically disprove this whole crazy Eastern notion of subtle energies and energetic centers or chakras somehow associated with the human body. As an American Western trained scientist, this just didn't make sense to him. Well, you can imagine his surprise when soon after beginning his critical research, he had one of those uh, expletive moments, if you know what I mean, when he realized that everything he was finding actually supported the very concept he had set out to disprove. Namely, he found that Western science fully validates that human bodies do, in fact, have an energetic field that's permeating and surrounding it. And even more surprisingly, he found that these energetic vibrational fields, they have everything to do with our emotions, with our physical health, with our mental and psychological well-being, and the quality of all of our personal relationships as well. By the early 1980s, he had puzzled through and clinically confirmed the organizational sort of anatomy of this vibrational field, as well as a set of therapeutic hands-on protocols to address the damaging impact that embodied emotional energies have on the human mind, our body, and on one's onboard soul, as it were, this very vibrational field at the core of our being. Well, he's tenacious. To know Richard is to know a man who is a dog who's not going to give up his bone easily. And so he went in with all due respect to anybody else. He said, listen, I may be the only scientist in the West who might think this, but this has to be brought to the rest of the world. Interestingly, for all of you who are part of the global Tao community, Richard Pavic chose to name his new healing modality SHEN, physio-emotional release and empowerment therapy. And why did he choose that particular word, SHEN? Well, he had become aware of a particular ancient Egyptian hieroglyph of a circle sitting on a flat line. The symbol translated as the totality of everything. And according to Egyptologists, it was pronounced Shen. Well, it was then that he found an equally ancient Chinese Taoist concept, also pronounced Shen, suggesting the highly desirable unity of three human aspects normally in opposition to each other, those being one's higher self, one's heart, and one's mind. In opposition, I'm sure you must agree, and throughout the day, we are always seemingly having conversations of disagreement between those three aspects: our highest self, our hearts, and our minds. Well, indeed, for the fortunate mortal, having those three working in total agreement, this would be the totality of everything you could imagine. And this brings me to the second man who changed the course of my particular life, and that's Dr. and Master Qigong Sha. For those hearing this maybe for the first time or tuning in, just wondering what this Tao community is all about, Dr. and Master Sha, he holds doctorates in both Western and traditional Chinese medicine. He's a celebrated Grand Master in several Chinese arts, including Qigong and calligraphy. And if that's not enough, he's also an award-winning author with many books, several of which have found their way to the New York Times best-selling list. Well, Dr. and Master Sha's entire life has been dedicated to serving all mankind by bringing to the modern world ancient Tao teachings and Tao technologies designed to uplift and heal the lives of all those who have the desire to manifest a new, more satisfying life for themselves and for others. Now, this introduction wouldn't be complete without also mentioning a woman who has greatly changed the focus of my life, and that being Dr. Rulin Shu, a colleague of Dr. and Master Sha. She's a physicist specializing in quantum mechanics, string theory, and the grand unification theory, often referred to as the theory of everything. Dr. Shu, oh my word. I wish she were on tonight. She could give this talk so easily. And well, but you're stuck with me. As she is a gifted teacher. And she's co-author with Dr. and Master Sha of Tao Science, an incredible book. Basic to her and Master Sha's teachings is this simple yet profound reminder, one that I'll be referring to all night long, at least for the next 55 minutes. Everyone and everything is a vibrational field. Now, if you have not heard that before, that can be a little bit either over your head, or if you reach up and grab it and just take a real good look at it, everything and everyone is a vibrational field. Well, what about this? My watch, the computer I'm working with, the desk it's sitting on, the chair I'm in, aren't these physical? Well, we know through research that even the smallest atom the building blocks of material, when you look at them deeply through very special technology, you realize what we thought were particles, charged particles of electrons going around and protons going around a nucleus. When you look deeply at those quasi particles, they turn out to be energetic charges. They are themselves fields. So if even the densest material of steel, stone, granite, if all of this are just dense qualities of vibrations, dense frequencies, well then in fact, even though it looks to our eyes and feels to our five senses and smells and tastes and all of that, it like something solid, in actual fact, even this is vibrational fields. And there it is. With that one sentence, all the concepts of SHEN, my 40 years of SHEN therapy working directly with those fields, and the entirety of ancient Tao wisdom, Tao science, and both classical and quantum physics all come together for me in a single grand integrated whole. Now, this entire month, the Portland Tao Wednesday talks have centered on this wonderful theme: breathe, balance, and blossom. And with the past couple of weeks specifically focused on stress, how to reduce it, how to effectively manage it in our lives. And this is where I have a problem with this modern psychology driven goal to manage our stress, to essentially suppress and avoid it, even if just temporarily, through talk, through logic, through a readjustment of our mindset. But that is exactly like rearranging the deck chairs on the Titanic. The underlying iceberg problem has not been addressed. Why not eliminate the icebergs? In other words, why suppress the stressful inner responses we have to life's challenges when we could actually eliminate the root causes of that stress? Is that actually possible, you ask? Over 40 years of clinical observation, private practice, and the secure Tao science and technologies Dr. and Master Shah has brought to this world, all of it, every bit of it, screams the loudest possible, yes, absolutely, it is possible. Even your icebergs can be melted into a very positive outcome for you. Of course, everyone is unique. We each come with our own unique treasure trove of potential and untapped resources. We're each also uniquely stubborn because we are still unsure of ourselves in some ways. We don't wish to be hurt again, to be unheard, or in any way abused. So we've put up certain walls. We've allowed other people to influence us without us taking responsibility for this hodgepodge of inner responses we have to life. Well, let's dig in. I'm hoping you find this interesting enough to say, you know what? I'm willing to look deeply. I'm willing to take another look and say, these Tao teachings and technologies have applications that possibly I haven't really taken a look at yet. Now, when I teach or when I do anything, as a conductor, particularly speaking to the orchestra or speaking to the audience the night of the performance, I always enjoy doing one particular thing, and that is defining the terms. Now, we've we've constructed a whole month of talks around stress. We have heard wonderful talks from Henderson and others about using various Tao principles and techniques to thoroughly cleanse our souls. I have to ask, has anybody had the experience of receiving that rich administration from Henderson and so many others? I see Terry in the audience. He's spectacular at assisting and moving people through. Aliel Kinder, she's been doing this for years, and others who give such wonderful service. But have you ever noticed that you receive a transmission or a blessing, and then within hours, somebody says something or does something, and suddenly you're triggered again? What just happened? What is that all about? I was hoping that all of this would be permanent. Well, remember what I said. We all come with our own unique baggage. And that baggage is usually organized in a series of layers. One layer comes off, the next one appears, and then there's another. It's almost like a lotus. However, when we're dealing with these inner layers of resistance, fears, shames that have turned into ongoing stress and anxiety, eventually we get to the core issue. That event, that thing that happened to us. At least we think we remember it happening to us. But somewhere along the line, we now are living a life that's infused with stress, with something that I don't think we've really taken the time to analyze. So what is stress? What is stress anyway? Well, what do we know about stress? Where do you feel it? If you said in your body, of course, that is for sure. But where in your body do you feel the stress? If it's the stress of I'm overworked, I'm underpaid, but I can't possibly say that to my boss, ooh, that is just eating me up. You may feel that in your throat, your neck, and your shoulders because you want to express it, but you can't. And those cluster headaches, ever heard of those? They start attacking the back of your neck. Your shoulders start going dangerously close to your ears. And then we also have these invasive, well, before we leave the body, do you also have you noticed a stressful feeling that might be in your heart or in the pit of your stomach where, oh, I'm uncomfortable with this? It's almost as if there's a latent fear and that is living as an entity inside your torso at the solar plexus. Or maybe you even feel a certain stress or anxiety in your lower belly. Dr. Master Sha would refer to it as the lower dantian, and various cultures and applications and modalities refer to these centers as by different names, but basically they are one and the same despite the name. Your heart, it gets contracted, it pulls. Or my stomach, just below the rib cage, my diaphragm wants to tighten up. I can't breathe properly. Uh, Something in my lower gut says, I'm not okay with this. I don't think I'm able to handle this. Are any of these familiar to you? Uh, if you're halfway human, you have grown up living with these senses of inadequacy, a sense of not belonging. You've had a sense somewhere along in your life that there was a hierarchy and you were not on top. And you knew you could be, and you knew had more to give, but you were anxious and you were fearful. And so you stayed lower and suppressed. Is that making any sense to some of you? I've been there. Everybody I may have mentioned earlier, they've all been there. We're human. That's part of the packaging, but there's a reason for it. So this stress is felt as an emotion, say. It's felt in the body. So, and then there's those invasive thoughts. If I'm stressful and I'm anxious, there must be something wrong with me. Or that person out there, there's something wrong with them. And I'll be angry, but only to cover up my sorrow, my fear, or some sense of inadequacy or devaluation that I carry. So it's a stress and anxiety. We feel it in our bodies, and it results in invasive thoughts and avoidance actions. Now, it seems to me that stress is something that is all pervasive unless it's dealt with. So let's ask another question about stress. What is it? Well, okay, maybe we have to ask, where is it? Now, I've mentioned locations in the body, but is that the stress? Is that the location of it? Remember the most important sentence of the evening, or possibly of the entire last couple of centuries. Everyone and everything is a vibrational field. In fact, what Dr. Master Shah, Dr. Rulin Shu, and even Richard Pavic 40, 50 years ago postulated the following: emotions are vibrational realities that are lodged in our field. It's as if someone threw a tennis ball at a chain link fence and boom, it's stuck inside one of those diamonds. Oh, geez. What is that all about? It's in my field. Well, how did it get there? And why is it there? Well, why is that response there? Well, maybe it could be our family who taught us all sorts of things. This is the way you respond. This is the way you act. Talk to me this way. Talk to authority that way. This is what you should be when you grow up. You understand what I'm saying. And then there's our culture. Bigger than the family, there's the culture. Now, I am fortunate to have dear friends nearly all over the world, particularly all throughout Africa, where I have relatives, uh, and then through France, England, so many people I treasure. They all have different cultures, and each culture has entrained my friends to think, act, and and have expectations geared to that culture, not necessarily to the individual, that child growing up trying to understand life. So just with family and culture, the question might be, what did we take on in order to survive that is not ours? and doesn't have to remain ours, but that we're still carrying around. Hmm. You might call that a stress, an anxiety. Why else do we have stress? Well, maybe it was just a lack of knowledge. We didn't know any better. We were not taught. So we said something or we did something, and even though we had no responsibility for not knowing something at the time, that became a stumbling block. And who do we blame? Ourselves. We take that on, and it stays inside us as a self judgment. That's tremendous stress and anxiety. And then there are some times we, in an earlier portion of our mortality, we have lacked self discipline. Does anybody else have that as their part of their history? We've, we've chosen to do crazy and wild things. We've chosen to say inappropriate things. We have chosen to eat and otherwise take into our bodies unwise things. This lack of self discipline. And when we realize that we have our own expletive moment, we have to say, oh my, I have to take responsibility for that. And if it ended there, that would be great. I'll take responsibility for it. But most of us in our families and cultures, we learned, oh, I'm really not a good person. I've really fallen flat on that one. I must not be worthy. I must not be good enough. How come yeah, and the thoughts go on and on and on. Once again, these anxieties, they live in our fields as frequencies. Dr. Rulin Shu has mentioned this time and time again within Tao and also in physics. Vibrational variances are referred to as information. Information. Positive information is beneficial, something that helps, something that assists. In a vibration, it follows right with the rest of the field. It's in sync, it's in harmony, it's confluent, we would say. But then again, we have other frequencies which are more dense, they're slower, they are thick, and we might call them shame, guilt, sadness, fear. There are so many names we could use, but they all come down to a few things. And notice I haven't said anger yet, but let's add that. Anger is something we use to push back out because we don't like the feeling of the stress. And we have grown accustomed in many of our cultures to not take responsibility. And we don't like that contractive pull. And so we push back out and say, no, it's your fault. You did it. I blame you. And we do that in a vain attempt to cover the grief, the fear, or the shame that we don't wish to feel. The other reason why we have this is it's just habit and lack of discipline that we mentioned before, but habitual thoughts. Oh, I've always eaten this way. I've always thought this thought. I've always done this thing. Just habit. At a certain point in our lives, particularly when we come up to the truths, the absolute baseline truths of the Tao principles of greatest love, greatest forgiveness, greatest gratitude, greatest light. And those are just four of 10 major qualities that we are all encouraged to live by. And as much as we forgive, as much as we're grateful, do we forgive ourselves for what we're carrying? All of this stress we're trying to manage and keep in control of? Are we grateful for the stress? That's right. Are we grateful for the stress? Have we only looked at it as something to avoid, to push away, or is there actually something good wrapped up in it? Well, let's talk just moments about that, and then we're going to jump into some experiential deep dives, if you will, to talk about, yes, sometimes you need to just manage the stress until you have the appropriate time and focus to dig fully deeply. We're going to do both tonight. Now, let me suggest to you that, again, that sentence, everyone and everything is a vibrational field. How are you hearing me? Well, I have these vocal folds in my throat that are vibrating because air is passing through, and there's a vibration. There's a microphone in this somewhere in this computer thing, and it is picking up those vibrations, turning them into electricity, sending them up to who knows where. In my case, it's actually going to a satellite somewhere up there called Skylink, and then instantly it's down into your computer and you're into your ears, and it's as if we're having a one-to-one conversation. I don't pretend to understand any of that. All I do know is that even our conversation, the visual part of this, all of this is a type of vibrational, energetic exchange. Now, you have built into you two or three very important tools. Yes, tools built in. And one of them is the same tool that I'm using right now, and that is your voice. Now, one of the Tao technologies has to do with Tao music and Tao song. And there is where particular melodies, particular fields that we bring ourselves into, if you will, can allow the act of singing to become a therapeutic experience. Now, all of you don't have to be opera stars. You don't even have to be country western singers or any other type. All you really need to do is thank the Tao directly. Dear Tao, Source, and Divine, thank you so much for this physical body that I have and the ability I have to use it to learn vital lessons and to heal myself and others. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Your voice is one of the most magical tools you can imagine. Remember the opening of the Christian Bible, or even the Mosaic portions of it in Genesis. In the beginning was the Word, spoken vibrations. And the Word was with God, and the Word was God. Well, pardon me, but that is Taoist thought from beginning to end. Now let's talk about that voice box that you have in your throat. I would like you to think of some anxiety something that maybe of just of today, something in your the course of your day that was a little concerning or anxious, and oh, now I've got to take care of this later, or I need to talk to this person, or for some reason there's just a bit of an angst, if you will, hanging on. Instead of singing a song with words and correct pitches and all, just simply hum or ooh or ah. What is the traditional sound made with a transcendental meditation person? Let me demonstrate. Om. Om. Now, take, if you will, that the thought of that anxiety, that superficial stress that you did have today that you're still dealing with, bring it firmly in front of your vision. Close your eyes gently, sit up straight in your chair or wherever you happen to be, and take a real good look at that anxiety. Where do you feel it? As you take a breath, where does it kind of get stuck? Is that in your chest, in your throat? Could it be in your stomach or solar plexus? Or can you breathe deeply until you get to your lower belly and oh, suddenly there's a knot there? Well, feel that and bring that stress fully in front of your closed eyes. See it, sense it, and then if you would, just simply go, Om. Join with me. Om. Now, would it surprise you that there is a Tao specific way of humming? There really is. But it's not with your closed lips. It's by taking the sound, the vibrational sound of each of those chakras. If you, let's just take for an example, you felt that anxiety in your lower belly. Dr. Shaw has told us, and long experience has now proven this to be absolutely true. The Chinese sound, if you will, for that second soul house, your lower dantian, your second chakra, if that's your language, is Hong, Hong. So, if you would, close your eyes and simply go, Hong, Hong. One more. Hong. Take a breath. Open your eyes. Is there a sense that your shoulders have relaxed just a bit? The heavy weight that may have been on your chest has alleviated a bit. It's not quite so difficult to take that deep breath. If you will allow yourself to say, where do I feel this anxiety? And bring it forth as a reality and say, thank you. I know there's a lesson you can teach me, but right now I need to deal with certain realities of life that can't involve you. So temporarily, I need to set you aside. Let me do that comfortably by humming for you. And with a hum directed at that, it will retire into the background, allow you to perform what it is you need until you have the opportunity to go back and actually deal with what it is that needs addressing. We've mentioned several times now this concept of a breath. Do you know that the actual physical quality of breathing in deeply and out, not so forceful and strong, just calm, deep, and wide, that a breath actually sustains this field that we are dealing with. You can deal without food for a long time. You can deal without water for a fairly long time. But how long can you live without taking a breath? And you think it's just because, well, I need oxygen. And so if I don't have oxygen, I'll I'll faint. I'll do whatever's going to happen negatively, and I could die. Well, the answer is yes. If you don't take a breath, you could die. But it's not just because the physical body will shut down. Without the active breath in and out, in and out, our fields would remain stagnant and settled and shallow to the point that we physically expand and contract our torsos. The field which permeates and surrounds our very bodies also expands and contracts. The field is driven by breath. On this mortal level, it's one of the key elements of staying alive for a good reason. Not only does breath sustain our body, breath sustains and causes our, I was going to say spirit, and I might as well. It causes that to actually have life and to remain part of our body. You know, I hesitated calling it spirit because Tao is not a religion. There are no regular meetings that happen for the faithful. It's not that at all. And neither is a scientist. The scientist in Sausalito, California, named Richard Pavic. A couple of years after I had learned what he was teaching and became both a practitioner, a therapist, and also a certified instructor of what he calls SHEN therapy. I kind of confronted him. We were on his houseboat in Sausalito, and he's sitting at the computer typing away, doing something. And I said, Richard, I've really got a question. This field, this vibrational field that we all talk about, what really is it? Is there some other word in English that is more common that people might understand instead of just the field or biofield, as he came to call it? And he looked up. Now, this is a hard-nosed scientist. And he looked up, and peered over his glasses and looked up at me and he said, Russ, this may surprise you to hear this from me, but the only word that I know that properly describes what it is that we are dealing with is soul, one's very soul. Consider the possibility that this vibrational field, which we all are, and which is part of the greater field, the Tao itself, consider that that portion of the field that is you, the inner reality of you, is actually your soul. That would mean that all people, everyone, and everything is a soul, animate and inanimate, only because we can't see that refined quality of vibrational field. Plants, animals, rocks, minerals, they all have an energy field just as we do. Now, before we jump into the final and very important, big demonstration of what it is to apply Tao science into a normal day's life, I want you to become aware that there's that word, aware. Focused awareness is key to our progress. We can't just sit back and listen to Dr. Master Sha and Rulin Shu or any teacher that we value and just hear it and have it flood over us and say, well, that was nice, and then go on with our merry little life. We need to develop what I tend to call focused awareness. We actually need to be more aware of not just the world around us. We seem to do that, we think, fairly successfully. But the most important thing to be aware of is ourselves, to become the observer, the watcher, if you will, of our own soul's journey. Now, is it possible for you to just, you're sitting there, you're looking at me, we're having a, we're going to have a discussion in a little bit, but can you see yourself as if you took a step back behind your eyes, just slightly behind your head, and you see all of you? You lift your hand, you say, oh, isn't that interesting? You think a thought and you hear it. You know, all that mind chatter that all of us have in our heads, we generally tend to think that it's us doing the chattering. When in fact, if you can hear that and realize that it's either negative or positive, it's all telling me things that are making me even more anxious and stressful. If you can hear it, who's doing the hearing? And who's doing the talking inside your head? Interesting, huh? To observe and watch your own journey is to learn how to realize that you are the soul that inhabits this incredible machine called the human body. What a gift it is. And one of the major gifts is that it has allowed us to learn lessons through all of our difficulties. So, let's recap and then jump into what I hope will be a wonderful experience for you. So, what is stress? I want to remind you that it's not about the events that happen to us. None of these held emotions that we are worried about, fearful of, anxiety ridden over, it's not about the events that happened or the people involved when it happened. Rather, it's all about how we responded to what happened to us. Do you hear what I'm saying? How did you respond when you were shamed? Oh, it hurt. Well, I've mentioned Fritz Perls and the fact that emotions are, they have a life cycle and it's like a bell curve. They mount and they mount and they mount, and then they have to get to a certain point before they start to dissipate and release, and they're gone. And that applies to both positive and negative emotions, comfortable or uncomfortable, expansive or contractive. The problem is that we have started so many difficult emotions, and then they start to hurt so much, we back off. Here's the challenge we all face. Because the feelings of stress and anxiety are physically painful, we all tend to shut down before completing the full experience. The feelings remain active until we allow them to complete. Active where? Active in our field, and our bodies feel it, our brains respond. But until we complete them, they remain inside, continuing to disrupt every aspect of our lives. Despite our best efforts via using logic, mindset adjustments, or tension breaking distractions like taking a walk, exercising, dancing, doing yoga, even meditating, these disruptive, incomplete emotional episodes, these emotions we haven't gotten over the bell curve, they will remain with us alive and well until we allow them to complete. It's very much like the submerged boulder that will continue to disrupt the river's flow until it is removed. A deep river, it's still there. The river has to go around it. A shallow river, or like running the rapids, there it is. You see the water go up and then come down. You don't see the rock. But our lives are identical. It's the undealt with emotional impact that remains alive. So, will you allow me to guide you through an exercise that is inspired by Dr. Rulin Shu? She does this basically every time there is a major talk and demonstration about the inner reality of our vibrational fields and the material that we have lodged in there. So we just talked about the challenge. Let's talk about a solution. So, of course, these are my words, a bit of a paraphrase from Dr. Rulin, but those of you who have heard her, you'll hear exactly where I'm going. But let's do it as if it were the first time. So, with your eyes open and your gaze softening, breathe in and be still. You're perfectly safe. Now, gently, would you close your eyes and become increasingly aware of your breath? Breathe in slowly, calm, deep, and breathe in wide. Fill your entire torso with each breath. Using your breath, visually go into your torso, that incredible open arena. Become aware of your inner reality. Now observe the contracted feeling you've been trying to block. It's there. Where is it? Or is it one of several? With your eyes closed, using your breath, move your awareness directly into that painful blockage. You know what it is. That pain you don't really wish to talk about. That embarrassment that you've never gotten over. Possibly that trauma and abuse that unwise individuals put upon you. That deep, hidden secret you haven't even shared with those you love. You know what it is. Relax your jaw. Soften your eyes and your facial muscles and breathe in deep and wide. Become aware. Observe your inner landscape. Allow yourself to feel that very thing you've tried to avoid all these years. You're perfectly safe. So let it grow. Feel. And just as you feel it might completely overwhelm you, with confidence and courage, move completely to the core of this emotional baggage you've held on to all this time. See it. Breathe into it. Move closer. Feel. Breathe. And with clarity and a flood of light, release your grip and fully inhabit that now open space within you. You've removed a layer. You've become aware of a portion of what's in that baggage. Take a breath. With gratitude for all that is, reclaim this part of you. Forgiving yourself and all others involved with this now completed emotional episode. Observe. Allow. And feel this encroaching and overwhelming peace that's now available to you. Use your calm, deep, wide breath now to slowly re-energize yourself. Fill your entire torso. Breathe into your legs, into your feet and your toes. Hmm. And now breathe into your arms, your hands and your fingers. Move them. Turn your wrists and your ankles slightly. Now, retaining that joyous peace you released within yourself, come back to your room. Feel what you're sitting on or reclining on, and with your next breath, gradually open your eyes. Greet your new self. And for a moment, ponder the personal lesson and the new strength you have discovered within your new inner landscape, your new self. Now, has everybody come back to life? Let me ask, who would love to share, or would like to share? Whether it was the hum that helped to just dissipate certain levels of anxiety, it was a sense of breathing to, recenter myself. This is who I am. Oh, okay. I'm not flying apart at the seams like I sometimes feel I am. Or this deep meditation, somewhat similar to Dr. Rulin's, to go in, to observe, allowing yourself to see, to feel, and to allow those emotions suppressed to finally be allowed to mount and dissipate. Anyone have any sense that there was a feeling shift while you were doing this or afterwards? I just unmute yourself and come on forward. That's all that's necessary if anyone wishes to. There are 16 of us here. Please tell me that nobody felt nothing. I'm sure that there is
Russ,
something going
I
on.
don't know if you can see can you hear me?
I certainly can, and I think that's
Great.
Terry.
Yes. And let me turn my headlight on. I don't know if you can see the chat, but Jonathan wrote that he was feeling very peaceful and he's raised his hand, so he's ready to speak.
Wonderful, wonderful. I think, Jonathan, that was your cue. Go ahead. Just unmute and begin.
Hello everyone, namaste from Trinidad. Yeah, I felt very peaceful in that last exercise that you let us do, and I resonate with whatever you're saying here, the observer and so on, because I've been doing this since I was 16, right? Well, 18,
Right.
being the observer of the experience. So I thank you for facilitating this, and I'm really grateful to be part of it.
Excellent.
Thank you, Russ.
Thank you, Jonathan. Good to see you again. Anyone else? Aliel, have you got anything to share? I can't imagine you don't. Go ahead and unmute yourself, please.
I sure do. Have some challenges financially, and I'm also facing surgery. Um, and I am definitely one of those people who identifies with needing more discipline. But in the moment, I'm relaxed and warm and in touch with breath all the way down through my whole torso, and very grateful to be here.
I think the bottom line for all of this is that whether you're doing a very specific Tao technology tracing, chanting, all of this is either movement or vibration or somehow involved with grand principles that can be reduced to that one phrase. All people and all things are a vibrational field. Tao itself is a vibrational field.
The comments are beautiful. I don't know if you have access to seeing them, Russ. You might want to read them.
Well, let's see here. I've been so involved in doing this. Oh, so peaceful and relaxing energy, accepting me more and more and giving me a warm hug. Alex, thank you. That's exactly right. Hugs are so incredibly important. And part of a good hug is this energetic resonance that sets up between the two persons' fields. Why does a hug feel so good? Alex, thank you for bringing that up. That's very important. Holly, who's always in the background, she's the one who keeps us going. She's our tech for these wonderful talks on Wednesdays always. Thank you, Russ. I felt a sense of relief wash over me during this practice. Be the observer of the experience, Jonathan writes. It's yogic science. Absolutely. Yogic science, Tao science, it's just science. And incredibly important that none of our cultures, at least very few of them, ever taught us. Russ, even though I have heard the concepts before, something new comes up and I understand it a different way each time. Well, Sharon Gilbert, thank you so much. That's wonderful. And Maria, you say, I know cluster headaches, worse than migraines. They can be. However, maybe you didn't have to explore too far down to find that tension, that thickness, that area that needs to be completed, that needs to go over the bell curve. Ah, I wish I could say it, but I can't. I'm sorrowful because I can't. And right then and there, everything, my neck, my shoulders, my voice box, even my upper chest, wants to tighten up, breathe into it, and relax. Cluster headaches can be very, very damaging to your health also, because they cause all of the vertebrae to compress and impinge on nerves. They're very, very painful. You're absolutely right about that. So, listen, thank you so very much. We even have Carol from Martinique. I am so pleased that you're here, Carol. Welcome. Uh, I hope I haven't kept you up too late. I think you're in nearly the Eastern time zone, along with Jonathan in Trinidad and Tobago. So anyway, thank you folks for this, but thank yourselves for taking the time and energy to tune into the great master teachers to whom I pale, and that would be Henderson, our wonderful acupuncturist friend who delivered last week. And there's always Paul Fletcher, and there's Terry, and there's so many, and I hate to mention names because I definitely will leave out important people. But thank you for tuning in. I hope that this tonight has given you a sense that you don't have to live with anxiety. You can temporarily set it aside, but don't suppress it to the point that you avoid the very lesson that's waiting for you on the other side of it. It's important to realize that these are not just evil. These are not just disturbances. These are actually helpful additions to being mortal, because by challenging, by going through, by completing those incomplete emotional episodes, your life becomes enriched with new options, new possibilities. And before I go, I need to share something with you that I hope comes up on the screen so you can actually read it. In case you didn't know, and I got this from my affectionate housemate, Beth Kingsley Hawkins, who's also online tonight. She had this shirt, and this morning she showed it to me, and I said, that's going to be part of my talk tonight. And here it is, my closing realization. I said, all stress has a benefit, and it does if you handle it properly and allow life to teach you. Can you read this? I hope that's spelled correctly for you. If not, I'll read it. Stressed, spelled backwards, is desserts. You can have dessert with every bit of stress if you'll go through it to the far side. Thank you, Beth. I'll give you back your shirt as soon as we're done. Well, folks, next Wednesday, there's going to be somebody else. And please stay tuned. Both Anita and Terry are wonderful at getting the word out. And so we will find out who it is, what's going to be talked about. But again, this is brought to you by the Dow Portland community of healing and service. And that's what impressed me so much by Dr. and Master Shaw, Dr. Rulin Shu, Terry when I met him, and everyone else. Their life is no longer about them and their progress and their moving forward as if they were just part of the normal culture. They've dedicated their life to service. As they grow, other people have grown. And now it's a world organization. So look into it if you're new to it. There are numbers to contact on the flyer. There are websites. There's all sorts of social media that you can become engaged in. I wish you a fond and wonderful good evening, good morning, afternoon, or night, and please return. Blessings.
Thank you very much. Anita had to, she's involved in a group that's just starting, and she can only have one webcast open at a time, so she had to go to it. So I'm filling in for her, and we want to thank you. You read the comments, so you know the responses, and my experience is there's more that people still are unfolding inside themselves and may not even have, ready to say yet. So, you are appreciated. We thank you very much. Next week, we will have another presenter, and I am not positive who it will be, but that's because I'm trying to remember. I think it's August. We welcome you all to tune back in, same time, same place, whatever device you want to use, wherever you are. And you will, because you're here, excuse me, there's a call coming in. I'll have to put them on hold. You will all receive a copy of an email and a recording of tonight. So you'll have the link for next week and a copy of this week. So we thank you all for joining tonight, and we welcome you back next week. Until then, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are in the world, all the way from the Philippines to Trinidad, Tobago, and other far off places like Arizona.
Yes.
Good night, all.
Thank you, Terry.
Bravo,
Thank you, Holly.
bravo, Russ. Thank you. Love you all.
Thank you
you,
so
Russ.
much. Thank you.
Thank you.